If you struggle with wanting to hear God's voice, I want you to listen to this. I think it's going to help so many people. Watch to the end. You don't want to miss this. Talking is just one form of communication, right? But it's one of the ways that I feel like most people want to hear God's voice and think that that's most of the time the way that God speaks to people when they say God spoke to me. I'm going to tell you that that is not the only way that God has spoken to me and got my attention. If you want to communicate with somebody who's blind or is deaf, and you know that the only way that they'll understand you is if you learn a certain way of communication, then you're willing to learn that because you know that that's what it's going to take to build a bond with them in a deeper level. The same thing applies with God. God does not just have to speak to you audibly because that is what you're comfortable with. And I literally remember when I started to learn God's voice, the Lord specifically told me, you weren't mad at me because I wasn't speaking to you this whole time. You were mad because the way that you wanted me to speak to you was the only way you felt you could understand me. And maybe for where I was, that was true. But when I made intentional time to go seek him in his word and learn who he was in spite of the way that he communicates, I learned this is something that a God that is kind and loving would do based on what I know in scripture. And because I know that, I can identify you in nature. I can identify you in a hug. I can identify you in a kiss. I can identify you in anything that you send me in this world to show me that you are speaking to me in a dream, whatever it is. If you don't speak sign language and I'm making a sign language or I'm like saying something, I just know how to spell my name. That's all I know how to do in sign language. But if that's all I know how to do and I'm trying to communicate with you, but you don't speak sign language, you'll never know what I'm saying until you learn it for yourself. And once you learn it, as I'm trying to communicate with you, you'll finally understand that I was talking the whole time. You just didn't understand me. Oh! So just like you learn sign language for somebody that might be deaf, that you want to speak to or communicate with, it's the same thing with God. You make intentional time to spend time with him in prayer. Maybe you journal, maybe you write, read his word continuously, but when you continue to do those things, you learn more about him and you learn more about the way that he communicates in his personality.